In this world, there is a genius whose name was only truly appreciated after his death, a man whose thoughts were ahead of his time, a man who dreamed of a world with limitless energy, wireless communication, and technology that is still in use today. He was Nikola Tesla, inventor, visionary, scientist, and a man who lived in solitude, betrayed by the world he was trying to save. This is the story of a nearly forgotten genius whose ideas shaped modern civilization. Nikola Tesla was born on July 10, 1856, in the small village of Smiljan, in what is now Croatia, a part of the Austrian Empire. That night, a thunderstorm shook the sky. Family legend has it that at Tesla's birth, lightning flashed so violently that it lit up the room. The midwife said, "This is a child of darkness." But his mother replied, "No, he is a child of light." And as it turned out, she was right. This child would bring light, literally, to the entire world. His father, Milutin Tesla, was a priest. His mother, Juka Mandic, was not an academic, but possessed extraordinary technical talent. She invented household appliances and could memorize hundreds of lines of poetry without ever having written them. From his mother, Tesla inherited a photographic imagination, an uncanny ability to visualize machines in his mind. From his father, he inherited perseverance and discipline. From an early age, Tesla was different. He could imagine other worlds, solve complex problems in his head, and was captivated by natural phenomena, especially electricity. Tesla grew up as a curious child. He often solved math puzzles using only his imagination. His teachers sometimes couldn't believe it, thinking he was cheating. He had a seemingly strange habit. He would see flashes of light before his eyes whenever he heard a loud noise or felt emotional. His brain was so active it seemed as if he created his own visual world. In high school, he discovered a fascination with physics and static electricity. When he heard about electric current, his mind immediately imagined a world that could move without human or animal power. As a teenager, Tesla fell seriously ill. Nearing death, his father said, "If you recover, I will send you to the best engineering school." Those words proved a turning point. Tesla recovered with a renewed determination to pursue science. In 1875, Nikola Tesla was accepted into the Austrian Polytechnic Institute in Graz to study electrical engineering. Initially, he was a brilliant student. He studied 19 hours a day, never missed a class, and earned perfect grades. However, the pressure he created for himself backfired. By his third year, Tesla began to face severe stress. His addiction to gambling as an escape caused him to lose focus, and even exhausted his family's tuition fees. Unable to cope with the academic pressures and his lifestyle, Tesla eventually dropped out and failed to complete his studies. This not only hit his self-esteem, but also severed his ties with his family. His parents were disappointed, and Tesla briefly concealed his failure by pretending to be still in college through forged papers. At this point, Tesla's future looked bleak. After leaving Graz, Tesla endured a difficult period. He moved around Central Europe, working as a draftsman, a mathematics teacher, and a technical laborer. In 1880, he suffered a nervous breakdown due to mental stress, a condition that nearly ended his career before it began. A turning point came when Tesla worked at the Central Telegraph Office in Budapest in 1881, and later at the National Telephone Company, where he demonstrated remarkable innovation in electrical engineering and telecommunications. It was here that Tesla developed his early ideas for induction motors and alternating current AC systems, although they remained merely conceptual in his mind. In 1882, Tesla accepted an offer to work for the Continental Edison Company in Paris, France. The company was growing rapidly under the technological dominance of Thomas Edison. This move was not only a professional advancement, but also an opportunity for Tesla to apply his knowledge of electrical power systems in a real-world setting. In Paris, Tesla worked as an electrical engineer, responsible for installing lighting, systems, and electrical infrastructure in various facilities. He was known as a meticulous and dedicated worker, capable of completing complex tasks with high efficiency. However, despite the prestigious position, Tesla felt that his ideas far outgrew the scope of the job. His ambitions and technological dreams needed a bigger platform. And in 1884, that opportunity arrived. In the summer of 1884, Tesla arrived in New York with a simple suit, a few coins, and a letter of recommendation written by Charles Batchelor Tesla's mentor and superior during his time in Paris. In the letter, he wrote the famous line addressed to Thomas Alva Edison: "I know two great men, one of you, and the other is this young man." For Tesla, New York was a gateway to dreams and challenges. He arrived with his mind full of revolutionary electrical ideas. Ahead lay the burgeoning American industry, which needed brilliant minds. Tesla was accepted to work at Edison Machine Works, Thomas Edison's large company, which at that time dominated the electrical system with its direct current, DC, technology. There, Tesla began to demonstrate his brilliance in technical problem-solving, electrical networks, and electric motors. However, the journey was not easy. Tesla worked almost non-stop, solving various technical problems and improvements to Edison's DC generator. Tesla's quick thinking and meticulousness quickly earned him a reputation as one of the company's best engineers. However, there were fundamental differences between Tesla and Edison. Edison, a pragmatist, relied on empirical experimentation, while Tesla was more visionary and believed in solid scientific theory. These differing approaches would later spark significant friction between the two. During Tesla's time working for Edison's company, Edison was impressed by his perseverance and intelligence. One day, Edison even offered Tesla $50,000 if Tesla could redesign Edison's generator system to make it more efficient. After months of experimentation, Tesla found a solution and finally succeeded in redesigning Edison's generator. Because of his success, Tesla asked Edison for the promised money. Unfortunately, Edison refused and instead made an unpleasant remark, saying that Tesla didn't understand American humor. This incident was a turning point, leading Tesla to leave Edison Machine Works. He then embarked on an independent journey that would later make him one of the greatest inventors in history. His departure wasn't immediately followed by success. Tesla, who had previously designed magnificent machines and revolutionary electrical theories, was forced to work as a manual laborer, digging ditches in New York. An ironic scenario for a man who would become one of history's most visionary figures. Shortly afterward, Tesla was introduced by his foreman to Alfred S. Brown. He was experienced in establishing companies, promoting inventions, and obtaining copyrights or patents. Alfred S. Brown and his colleague, Charles Fletcher Peck, a New York lawyer, became mentors and changed Tesla's fortunes. They agreed to support Tesla financially and manage his patents. The three of them then founded Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing. Afterward, they also established a laboratory in Manhattan for Tesla to work in. Tesla worked tirelessly to improve and develop electric motors, generators, and other new devices. Peck and Brown covered all expenses and costs incurred by Tesla in his research. They also contributed advice to ensure the ease of use of the devices Tesla created. It didn't take long for Tesla to develop the alternating current, AC, electricity he had long dreamed of. Finally, in 1887, Peck and Brown realized that Tesla had discovered a remarkable power of AC electricity. This encouraged Tesla to patent it. In fact, AC electricity was already known before Tesla's discovery, but it was Tesla who designed a well-integrated AC electrical system. This included generators, transmission lines, lamps, and more. This made AC electricity an alternative to direct current, DC electricity. For 2 years, after Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing was founded, at the end of 1887, Tesla focused on collecting patents, including the first patent granted to Tesla in America. He also built and installed the system in New Jersey, USA. A year later, throughout 1888, almost all of Tesla's innovations were patented. Tesla's new system even caused a stir in the Technics media, which commented on Tesla's advanced features. This included physicist William Arnold Antenny, who invited and arranged for Tesla to demonstrate his AC system at the American Institute of Electrical Engineers. After Tesla demonstrated his AC system, George Westinghouse, the inventor of the first AC power system in Boston, was impressed by Tesla's presentation. George Westinghouse was intrigued by Tesla's AC system. Although George Westinghouse had already conducted research on AC electricity, Tesla's AC system performed far better than his. As a result, George Westinghouse invited Tesla to collaborate. This is where Edison and Tesla began their rivalry, known as the War of Currents. The so-called Electric War was a major conflict between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison that occurred in the early 1890s. The core of this conflict was over which type of electrical system was best to use. In this war, 3 major companies, the Westinghouse Electric Company, The Edison Electric Light Company and the Thomson-Houston Electric Company were all seeking to expand their businesses while increasing their financial profits. The electric war arose from the development of two lighting systems: direct current DC lighting, championed by Edison, and alternating current AC lighting, developed by Tesla. Edison, already successful as an inventor and businessman, advocated direct current. Edison believed that direct current was safer and easier to control. Edison had already installed a DC network, the dominant form of electricity used in several American cities throughout the early days of electricity, and Edison wanted to build on this success. Tesla, on the other hand, believed that direct current was difficult to convert to different voltages. So, Tesla was convinced that the solution to this problem was AC or alternating current. Tesla believed that AC was more efficient and cost-effective for power, transmission, and distribution. Alternating current made it easy to raise or lower voltage. He used transformers to facilitate long-distance transmission and minimize energy loss. In this war, Tesla collaborated with George Westinghouse to further develop and distribute the AC system. As the use of alternating current systems spread, the Edison Company argued that the high voltage used in alternating current systems was dangerous, and that their design was inferior, and that they infringed on their direct current patents. Shortly thereafter, Edison began a campaign to denigrate alternating current systems. To protect the royalties he earned from his direct current patents, Edison also spread false information about the greater lethality of alternating current. To prove his point, Edison's team even publicly electrocuted several dogs and horses to demonstrate the dangers of alternating current systems. Certainly at the time, competition was fierce. The electric current war of the era saw the two companies engage in propaganda battles and public demonstrations to prove the superiority of their respective systems. However, Tesla anticipated this propaganda and continued to refine his system. To retaliate against Edison's treatment of his alternating current system, he staged a spectacular demonstration to prove the safety and efficiency of his alternating current system. Tesla went on stage and subjected his entire body to high-voltage electricity. As Tesla had hoped, despite being electrified by the high-voltage alternating current system, he suffered no damage. The current war finally ended when Edison's company investors urged him to switch to AC electricity. After winning the War of the Currents against Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla didn't stop. He wasn't satisfied with simply winning a technological debate. Tesla had a much bigger dream, a vision to change the fate of human civilization through energy. At the end of the 19th century, the world still relied on steam engines and gas lighting, industry smoky, streets filled with oil lamps. But Tesla saw a different future. He believed the power of nature could be harnessed to light cities, drive industry, and change human life forever. One of the most astonishing energy sources on Earth lies on the border of the United States and Canada. Niagara Falls. For decades, people simply admired its beauty. But Tesla saw something greater, a force of nature that could become the world's energy source. In the late 1800s, governments and investors sought ways to tame the mighty Niagara Falls. Many great engineers were called in. Edison's direct current system was briefly considered. But one major problem arose. Direct current couldn't carry electricity efficiently over long distances. This is where history began to change. George Westinghouse won the contract to build the Niagara power system, beating out Edison's company. Tesla's name shone brightly behind the decision. Tesla and Westinghouse worked together to build the first large-scale hydroelectric power plant in human history. The project began in 1893. Many experts doubted it. They said Tesla's technology was too risky, too new, too impossible. But Tesla had everything in place: AC induction motors, transformers, and even a long-distance energy transmission system. His technology enabled the power of water to be converted into electricity and transmitted tens of kilometers away, something previously considered a pipe dream. And finally, on August 26, 1895, history was made. The Niagara hydroelectric power plant officially went into operation. 3 giant generators, built according to Tesla's design, began to rotate, powered by the power of the Niagara River as the turbines turned and the generators spun. The world witnessed a technological marvel. It wasn't just a scientific triumph. It was a turning point in human civilization. Proof that coal and steam engines were not the only things that could power the world, but the forces of nature, directed by human intelligence. A year later, on November 16, 1896, light from Niagara Falls was successfully transmitted, 32 kilometers to Buffalo, New York. This was the longest electrical transmission distance ever achieved at the time. Buffalo was nicknamed the City of Light, a city of light, illuminating from the energy of water, and from the mind of a visionary named Nikola Tesla. Niagara's success opened a new chapter for the world. Cities began connecting to the electricity grid. Industries were transformed. Countries raced to build hydroelectric power plants. Modern energy infrastructure was born from the courage of one man who dared to dream, ahead of his time. Today, when we turn on the lights, use the internet, or enjoy the energy that flows hundreds of kilometers without stopping, these are all Tesla's legacy at Niagara Falls. Not just a project, but a revolution that illuminated the world. At the turn of the 20th century, the world was undergoing a major revolution in electricity and communications. Amidst this change stood a visionary named Nikola Tesla, who was dreaming of something far ahead of his time. While many were still struggling to understand the basics of electricity, Tesla already envisioned a future where energy could be transmitted wirelessly. For Tesla, the universe was a single, interconnected system. He believed that the Earth and atmosphere could act as natural conductors, capable of carrying electrical currents across the globe, without wires, without limits. For years, he researched alternating current, AC, which would later become the foundation of the modern electrical system. But for Tesla, wires were merely obstacles, and obstacles always there to be overcome. In 1899, Tesla moved to Colorado Springs to conduct a series of major experiments. There, he built a giant Tesla coil, a device capable of producing extremely high voltages. He successfully lit an incandescent lamp wirelessly from tens of meters away. He even created an artificial lightning bolt that struck more than 40 meters away. This experiment strengthened his belief. He only needed one more step to realize a global energy transmission system. However, to take his vision to a global scale, Tesla needed much larger infrastructure and funding. He designed the Wardenclyffe Tower, a giant transmission tower that became a symbol of his entire vision. To realize this vision, he sought major investors. He eventually found J.P. Morgan, the legendary banker who also funded major projects like General Electric. Morgan agreed to provide $150,000, equivalent to around $5,000 today. However, there was a condition. Tesla had to focus on building a wireless communication system, not free energy transmission. Initially, Tesla agreed. He believed he could achieve both. As for him, communication and energy were two sides of the same coin. However, Morgan was a businessman, not an idealist. He wanted profit. Tesla, on the other hand, wanted to provide energy for all of humanity. In 1901, Tesla purchased land in Shoreham, Long Island, New York. There, he began building a laboratory and a giant tower that would become a symbol of his vision. The tower's design was designed by renowned architect and friend, Stanford White. The 57-meter-tall tower features a 20-meter diameter steel dome at its summit. Its foundations are sunk 36 meters into the ground, forming a massive copper network that conducts energy to the earth. For Tesla, Wardenclyffe was more than just a scientific project. He envisioned it as the heart of the future world, a global hub that could transmit communication signals and electrical energy to every corner of the globe. He envisioned a world where homes would light their lights without wires, ships would sail without fuel, and people would communicate with each other through the air, without borders. A vision reminiscent of today's internet and wireless networks. While Tesla was busy building his tower, Italian scientist Guglielmo Marconi was secretly conducting similar experiments with radio waves. In December 1901, Marconi successfully transmitted the first radio signal across the Atlantic Ocean. The world was in a frenzy, and investors flocked to support Marconi. Tesla, who was just starting out, was considered behind the times. When J.P. Morgan heard the news, he immediately withdrew his funding. He believed Marconi was already ahead. Worse still, Morgan began to suspect that Tesla was indeed intent on providing free energy to everyone, something that could destroy the booming electricity business. Financial support ceased altogether. But Tesla persisted. He sold his personal equipment and even mortgaged his laboratory to continue the Wardenclyffe project. In 1903, the main structure of the tower finally stood proud. At night, the lights of the Shoreham neighborhood reflected the tower's silhouette against the sky. It was like a beacon for a future yet to come. Tesla tested it several times and claimed that his system successfully generated a powerful electric field that could be transmitted over long distances. But without key equipment and sufficient resources, the tower never reached its full potential. Wardenclyffe became a lonely laboratory, surrounded by waves and sea breezes, waiting for something that never came. For years, Tesla struggled to find new investors. He wrote hundreds of letters, submitted proposals to the government, and even pitched his idea to the military. But the world had turned its back on him. Marconi's radio technology had been recognized, and the business world was uninterested in the unmarketable concept of free electricity. Tesla's debts piled up. In 1915, Wardenclyffe was seized by the bank, and his laboratory was closed. 2 years later, in the midst of World War I, the American government ordered the tower's demolition, fearing it could be used by German spies. The tower was blown up and collapsed with a loud bang, ending one of the most ambitious dreams in the history of science. Its metal was sold for scrap, and Tesla walked away without a backward glance. Although Wardenclyffe was destroyed, Tesla's ideas never died. Today, the world thrives on the concepts he once dreamed up, such as wireless communication, Wi-Fi, radio waves, energy transmission, and wireless charging. What was once considered crazy is now part of everyday life. Wardenclyffe Tower may have been a physical failure, but its ideas laid the foundation for the modern world we know today. And ironically, Marconi's once celebrated name was ultimately sued by the United States Supreme Court in 1943, which ruled that several radio patents actually belonged to Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla, a name today synonymous with futuristic technology. But in the final years of his life, Tesla was no longer a celebrated figure. He was simply an 86-year-old man living a simple life in a New York hotel room. Once Tesla was a symbol of the future. He was the inventor of the alternating current AC system, the electric motor, the transformer, and even the initial idea for Wi-Fi and wireless energy. However, the business world was not as glamorous as the world of science. He was repeatedly deceived, defrauded, and lost the rights to his inventions. While men like Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse became wealthy legends, Tesla continued to live a simple life, refusing to seek personal gain. For Tesla, science was for humanity, not for himself. Since 1934, Tesla lived at the Hotel New Yorker, room 3327 on the 33rd floor. He owned virtually no possessions, no family, and no one. But inside his room, the magnificent world still lived in his mind. Every day, Tesla wrote notes, drew machine plans, and fed the flock of pigeons that always came to his bedroom window. Of all those birds, there was one white dove that he loved dearly. Tesla once said, "I love that dove as a man loves a woman. As long as she exists, my life has a purpose." But when the white dove died, Tesla said, he saw a light come out of its eyes and knew. With that, the light of his life went out. Despite his simple life, Tesla never stopped dreaming. He continued to write about wireless energy, about how to transmit electrical power around the world. He even proposed a concept for a weapon that could end war, which he called the death ray. Unfortunately, in the eyes of many, all of this was considered nonsense from an aging scientist losing his mind. Even investors refused to fund him anymore. While the world was busy preparing for war and developing military technology, Tesla believed that science should bring peace, not destruction. By early January 1943, Tesla was growing increasingly frail. He rarely ate and rarely left his room. Hotel staff who knew him knew that the elderly man was living in a world of his own. On January 7, 1943, a hotel maid named Alice Monahan knocked on the door of room 27. There was no answer. When they opened the door, they found Tesla lying in bed, lifeless. He had died of coronary heart failure. Tesla's death did not end his life. Instead, it gave rise to new mysteries. Within hours of his death, the United States government, through the FBI and the Office of Alien Property, seized all of Tesla's belongings and notes from his hotel room. They feared that Tesla's theories could be exploited by the enemy, as the world was in the midst of World War II. The documents were then examined by a young scientist named Dr. John G. Trump, uncle of Donald Trump, now President of the United States. He concluded that Tesla's writings were harmless. However, some believe that not all of the notes were made public. Others say most were hidden, perhaps because they were too dangerous or too advanced for their time. Tesla's funeral was held on January 12, 1943, 5 days after his death. Around 2,000 people came to pay their respects, but the scientific world was largely silent, with no major awards or national news coverage. After his cremation, his ashes were sent to his hometown of Belgrade, now Serbia. There, the Yugoslav government established the Nikola Tesla Museum, housing thousands of the genius's documents, designs, and inventions. Although the world had forgotten him during his lifetime, today Tesla's name shines brighter than ever, not only because of the electric car company that bears his name, but because people finally understand how far ahead of his time. Tesla's vision was, without Tesla, the world might still be living in darkness. He was the brains behind the AC electrical system, the induction motor, the transformer coil, and even the concept of wireless communication. Every lamp lit tonight is part of the enduring legacy of the genius who once said, "The present is theirs, but the future is mine." Nikola Tesla died alone, but he left a light for all humanity. He may have failed to achieve wealth or recognition, but his legacy is far greater than that of a world brightly shining.